Good morning and welcome to OG Foundation, capital of the sovereign state of Valodium. I am your host, Sovereign Non of Valodium. It is Friday morning and this is the state of the Molly Stark Tower. Let me turn it around for you. So, last week, in episode 10, I got kind of the shape of things, at least on this half of the tower, up to that arch. So there's 3 main openings, and then over here I think I'm going to put a window up in the top left corner, and then this panel here is going to be all just solid wall for privacy and security and structural integrity. And then I've got to start to the dome shape. So this week I should be able to get some order on that dome, and I should be able to make a lot of progress on these walls. And I still don't know, see, it's sunny over here, I still don't know what this whole side of it will look like, but I'm thinking there'll be an arch kind of like that. I'm thinking there'll be some kind of staircase that kind of like goes up onto that arch, and somehow like a doorway or something. I don't know, it's rather confusing. I just know that there needs to be a staircase to get up top, and I don't know really how it's all going to go. So I've got a lot of problem solving to do over there. But that's the state of things currently. So I'm going to start off by prepping for mortar. So this lath here needs to be prepped. I'll probably put another form on over here and measure for that window, make sure I've got enough room for that window. This needs to get straightened out, and then I'll get on to some mortar for the day. All ready for mortar Friday morning. Got extra forms and lath prep and prepping kind of that come along to be able to get more behind it. So I should be able to get all these corners nice and good. All of that is prepped, and a good bit more on that column. Second coat's over here. There's a back of a form over there. Pulled some forms. There's another form right here. That's all pulled and prepped. And there's other undone stuff over there, and mortaring in that new rebar piece right there. So plenty to do, probably for at least 2 batches. So the mortar is mixing now for it's mostly going to go on top, but you can see right here that's where the first batch is going to go, where that form was right there. So it's a little sketchy with the ladder on these tires, but I think if I do small buckets it should work. Hopefully I don't die. So after 2 batches on Friday, I got coverage on all the new spots, got really worked the corners, and got almost full coverage on that column there and over here. And I think that'll be all the mortar for today, and I'll be able to do some metal work. See how over here the rebar for this arch, for the tallest point of the tower, how I sandwiched a couple smaller pieces of lath around it, and so that will anchor in that piece of rebar, and then I'll basically start the lath from this point and also from that corner over there, and see if I can't get a platform out there to then work my way backwards to do the rest of it. But it'll start from right here, and then there'll be like a little support thing in between the rebar and where the remesh is. If you can kind of tell the space between, you can see a little bit of bend in the arch from up here too. Oh no, look what those boys did. This apple tree was doing so good. They had only ever taken 1 bite out of it, and then today, I guess they just got a taste for it, and they debarked the entire thing in 1 day. This beautiful apple tree, it's got so many apples in it. And now it's going to die. Look what else happened. This little critter I just found on the ground. I thought it was dead, but it's moving. It's still barely alive. Oh gosh. I'm really upset about that tree. It really meant a lot to me, that apple tree. But it's somewhat of a miracle that this little one is still alive. It made some peeps a second ago. I just got this incubator heated up, otherwise I was holding onto it. Oh, look, it's moving. That would be amazing if this little one survived. I lost an apple tree, got a ragged chicken soul. See if I can nurse it back to health. I don't think that tree has any chance of coming back to health, though. The little cutie survived the night. Looks like it's doing pretty good. Just getting started here on Sunday morning, the day after what many of you would call July 4th, but there is no July in Elodium. July doesn't exist, neither does August. So today is Gemini the 9th, I believe. July 4th, I think, fell on Gemini the 8th. And we've got a new life. I'm going to see if I can do some sort of surgery on that tree and do my best to save it. Chances are low, but this chickie's chances were super low, and look at it now. This is my best effort to save this tree. So I've cut out that section and then use this wood to screw the two sections together, and then debarked some of it and used the stapler to try to staple the bark over the areas that were raw. And now I'm gonna tape it all up real good to try to keep the moisture level high. So it seems like the chances are low this will work, but that's pretty much the only thing I could do to try to save it. So hopefully it can send up some of its juices from the lower bark, cross over the grafted bark, and feed the plant above. We'll see. So there it is after it's all duct taped up, 1.5 foot shorter. And the boys are officially grounded. I had all these tree limbs all cut down for them. They had plenty of food, and they just had to savage this beautiful, abundant, bountiful apple tree with so many little apples in it. And I don't expect to get any apples this year. It'll be a miracle if this tree survives now. Meanwhile, look at this little miracle. You're doing so good, chickie. Last night when I got the eggs, it looked like it was a big dead mouse on the ground. And then I picked it up and I was like, this thing's still moving. It's a chickie. After a night in the incubator, this one's doing pretty darn well, it looks like. Born on Independence Day. Forsaken, yet recovered. You always go up with it, and then when applying, you can go back and forth. You break the surface tension of the water with the existing wall so that it can bond well. Otherwise, you just get two stones up next to each other. But if they bond well, they're as stronger as one. So by the time I've gone and applied the second coat, the first one has dried out a bit, both from being thin and being in the sun here, as well as from touching a dry surface, which pulls the moisture out of the new surface. And so that causes it to set a bit, to get more solid. And then I can go through and add the second coat, which allows more material to get on the wall and allows it to get smoother by smoothing out the ridges and valleys of the first one. Now the mortar at the end of the bucket is pretty dry, and so I can use that to cover some lath that doesn't have any backing, just the freestanding lath. So the rest of the bucket is a bit thicker, so I'll go through with the second coat on this part. Corners are always priorities because that's where it's strongest. And generally you want to work your way up. So that is the end of bucket 4, batch number 1 for the day. I just realized watching Han against the trunk of this tree, he just stopped, but he's just like butting it, kind of like scratching his horns and in between his horns on it. And I'm guessing that's actually what happened to that tree. They must have just headbutted it, not eating it. So it was like behavioral versus actually eating it, which is interesting. Arthur over there. Look at this thing go. All the work from this year. So by the end of the day on Saturday, I got double coverage on that whole wall. The darker stuff is the second batch, and then did one batch this morning. So I got that whole reinforcement section for that arch, and I tried to get a line of mortar all the way across, but that's as far as I could get with what was tied. That one piece of lath, the full piece up there, I put on the outside of the remesh because I'm lazy and I thought that would be easier, but I'm still gonna have to tie it quite a bit. We'll see if it turns into a good choice. And then I put a piece of rebar up there with 4 rings in it to be able to hang things, and got a bit of coverage on that transition there to be able to try to bridge it. Try to bridge the arch. If I can bridge the arch and find a way up, then I can finish the dome going that way before having to do everything over here. I took this form off, this 4x8 form, and got 2 coats on that, on the back of that, which was like a raw face from a form. And now what I'm thinking is that I'm gonna like cone the corner, and like an ice cream cone, like that's the narrow point. I'm gonna point up towards this arch, and then keep that angle going up, and somehow squeeze a little doorway staircase thing up into that. That's what I'm currently thinking. But now that I have some horizontals in addition to the verticals, like the walls or whatever, now I can work towards building a platform up there that I can kind of work off of. But it's going to take several more coats before I'm there. So that's it for today. That one got the outside where there's a form, and then that one is full coverage, so I should be able to take at least 2 of those 2x4s down. And then I just need another form to fill in that section to be able to bring that wall all the way up to the top. And yeah, I tightened this one, and that's like the shape it's going to have on this side, and there won't be crenellations on the internal side. But anyways, that's all for today. Here's what that column looks like after I removed those 2x4s. So there's one on the side wall there, and there was one on each edge of the column here. So the lath overlaps, everything's nice and rough. Some of it smooth from where the form was. I'll give you a look over here. So this is really thin. And then the same sort of thing on this side. So this will be one of the priorities for today, to get a backing on that column. See how this one looks now after maybe 2 coats. Leveling it out a little. And then this side was the new one yesterday. Goes all the way up and starts to tie into this remesh, which will be a little rain blocker, snow blocker. So I'm pulling some forms, and then I'm going to prep some more Sunday morning on this upper area, which is now pretty well cured. It's a bit tricky to figure out where I can access it. Basically, I have that one hole there to be standing on top of the ladder to do it, and I'm going to try to figure out a way to kind of like get up there, which basically it would have to be really strong right there, and then I would have to kind of climb up and get up on the top of the arch. So we'll see if that's the way to do it. I'm also thinking about doing some kind of scaffolding down out on the tree there, so I can pull forms and do the outside, because where I have the ladder here out there, that's about as high as that ladder can go, and I need to go at least 10 feet higher than that. So I might be able to do some scaffolding connected with that tree, and just prepping now, and maybe do some remesh and maybe some lath stuff over there to kind of bring that shape together. So prepping now for the first batch of mortar. So I've made a little bit of scaffolding between 2 windows and the tree, so that I can get the back side of these 2 forms right here, which are all prepped. And it should take at least 2 buckets of mortar to get 2 coats on those to get them nice and smooth. I just finished with 1 bucket on the back of that column, which got like the first coat on it. It'll need a second coat. That kind of counterweights my little scaffolding here. And then also over here, I'm working on another. I removed this one tire that wasn't pounded, that was right here. So it exposes this corner, which now I want to get anchored well into the tire wall. So I drove a T-post down that's nice and solid. And then I've got these 2 bent T-posts from the border war last year. Tractor ran over them. And so I'm going to mortar those into the corner in such a way that they'll help to put weight on the inside of this wall, and then eventually I'll probably like put a line of rebar at the very least to tie together the inside wall. But as the weight goes on, a lot of this on the outside is just kind of like on the outside of the tires, and some of them like that tire not touching at all. So that T-post, once all cemented in, and once that corner becomes really strong, it'll help to spread the load, and then later on I can tie like the end of that T-post into rebar as it goes through, so that eventually it would be best to be able to tie the bottoms of the structures together with rebar. We'll see if we get to that, but 3 more buckets to go. 1 will go down in there and 2 more on the walls for this batch. So one of the chicks that Wisdom was sitting on, one of the eggs she was sitting on, but she's not sitting on any anymore. But the 2 chicks that Grizzly has are still doing good. And Wasabi's like back from the dead. Got the 1 batch done. Coverage on those 2 forms. The back of the column, and anchoring in some of those T-posts. I'll try to get another batch in after I take care of the goats. Just 8. And then taking care of Wasabi. That's my day. Wasabi just got its first kill. Killed a little flying creature, like a mosquito or something. So quick. Taking on new life. So the scaffolding worked pretty well yesterday. I was able to get pretty smooth coat on both of those forms. Both batches yesterday ended up down here. I also got some good coverage on the foundations under here. I'm not quite sure if you can see that very well. I've got more to do down there, but basically, oh, and then over here with these new T-posts, the first batch anchored them in, and then the second batch I got some buckets of stone and kind of like built out all around those T-posts to get them really well anchored in there. And so the idea being that if the weight is coming down from the walls and might potentially want to go that way because that's the angle of the hill. So the goal of that is to make sure that the weight from the walls is spread out onto the tires and that the weight from the walls can be dispersed by those T-posts without just kind of like breaking from the T-posts. So as I add more batches, it'll integrate the walls with the T-posts even better, and then it'll spread out the way that the weight is distributed. And then it'll end up tying in with this kind of crevice there, which I've got full all the way to there, so maybe today I'll fill that up. I'll just need another bucket or two of rocks, and eventually I want to fill in that whole area behind those T-posts, so that's all just like a big rock kind of footer that can distribute the weight like that. And so yeah, yesterday I didn't get to the work above because this is all that wall that I showed you on the outside, and all this is underneath what I'm doing above. And so I gotta make sure the foundations are good before I add more weight to the above. It probably would have been fine, but it's always good to attend to the foundations and what's beneath what you're building upon before building a bunch on unstable foundations. So today I'm back above. The goal today is to find a form to put up there and to send that wall all the way up to the ceiling thing, and then to reinforce what I've got going for the arches going up already, and then to add lath in between that mortar bit and the double rebar arch there, so that I can then get more, I can bridge the entire arch, and then also tape all those rings and get them into place so that those 4 rings are all kind of angled the same way. Where that rope goes in is supposed to be where the chimney pipe will exit the dome, and potentially I could connect those 2 columns with a little bit of rebar above there as well, because the countertop is wide enough, though it's just so sketchy. This step stool, it just lost this little metal thing that reinforces these 2 legs and keeps them together. That just fell right off the other day, and it's honestly like super dangerous to be using that, to be putting, like, basically I'm wagering my life on that step stool when I put it up on the counter and then put myself in those positions. But I'll probably do that again and get some lath up there and then like try to mortar it from on the step stool, like reaching up over onto the thing. But anyways, that's the goal for today. I'm going to do some prep now, and we'll give you a shot either after prep or after the first batch of mortar. So prep for batch 1 is complete. I got some lath on the wall there. I got some lath above those 2 arches. More lath up here, up to that piece of rebar. And I got a form on right here for this bend right where this door will be. And I also put a piece of rebar in that will be kind of like a railing for up there. And then it bends and ties in with this rebar down here. And then it bends and then gets back into hits the structure and then crosses that rebar again there. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna mix up mortar. I got I can put a wet batch on the back of that, so I think I have enough surfaces for a whole batch. And if there's not, then I'll just dump the excess onto the foundations. And I've got a good shot of bridging the arch in this next gap, which will be I guess it's a priority, but also bridging those 2 pillars, getting that wall up, and that form, it's all priorities. Check it out, after 1 batch, got a bridge across the whole thing. Got this side, the form up into the corner, and then double coating on this arch reinforcement section. 3 of the 4 rings are now mortared in, all except for that last one. And then I got another bridge over here. So those columns are bridged together, and these two corners are now bridged together. And now I gotta bridge the middle space in between the two bridges. So the difficult part will be getting up there, basically. So I'm gonna have to make the arch in the middle strong enough to be able to support my weight and a bucket of mortar without deforming the outside walls and whatnot. So I'll have to build up and also shape these openings here so that I know how to mortar around those. But that's all of the mortar for today, because it's supposed to rain in the afternoon. So I'll probably just do some metalwork after taking care of the animals. Wasabi has pooped on me at least 4 times now. But it's doing good. Doing good, eating and drinking, and still staying in the incubator for now. Me and Wasabi drink from the same cup. Where are you going? Look at this little cutie. So I've reached a major design decision up here. So I was thinking about this whole ramp that would go up, and like an archway up there that would then be a doorway up to the roof. But I've made a choice, hesitant as I am. It's going to be a lot of complication, and it's going to be a lot of extra weight, and it's not really fully necessary to have roof access from inside the structure. Insulation would be another nightmare. So I'm actually going to take down these pieces of remesh, take out that bend, take out this arch, and I'm going to start the dome of this roof with an arch, something like that low, and then it'll rise to that arch, and then rise to that arch. So I'll just be doing kind of like a simple, roughly shell with maybe just some cut-ins for windows and stuff like that, which will be way better and simpler than doing this whole thing. And then basically the access point to get onto the roof will be at the narrow point of that cone on the far side. So that's what I'm thinking for now. So I'm going to take this stuff down. I just wanted to give you a shot of what could have been. What could have been a confusing ramp staircase up to a hidden doorway to the roof, but we've already got this door here, which will have some access to the outside. There's a tunnel on the other side, which gets right around to where the roof access will be. So it's almost just like redundant to try to put this whole situation up here. So I'll reuse that piece of rebar, I'll reuse all the other pieces, we'll just reassemble. So that decision really simplified my life. I was able to take out this vertical piece of rebar, which I had put there in the idea that it would be some sort of missing puzzle piece, which it did bring it all together if I did want a doorway up to the roof. But now I was able to take that piece out, so there's no longer a vertical piece of rebar sticking out. And I'm thinking I'm going to take this 20-foot floor joist out now, and because I don't think I'm going to use it for another form, and that's the only reason I had it up here. So, and that's the main reason that hole is there, so that I can get this floor joist out of here. And so once the floor joist is out, I could probably close up a lot of the hole. I'm not sure if I need this big piece of plywood that's kind of falling apart either, but I'm going to start by taking that floor joist out, getting that out of the way, and then more metal work, and you can actually see the open space is what remains for me to resolve the metal work. I'm going to do like, I think like a 3-window bay there with like an arch over it, something like that, and then 1 window on the other side of that piece of rebar. And the cone shape is kind of there. I just need to adjust that piece of remesh, and then I'm just connecting all these pieces of remesh, and then the shape will be complete. And I just need to leave an opening up here where I'll be able to get up with the ladder, and then otherwise I'll probably end up developing the roof access over on this corner, like from that the top of the tunnel thing right there. We'll probably have some sort of like way to step up there. So yeah, I'm just gonna take this out. It's gonna be a little difficult to take out, but it'll be nice to get out. And then I'll keep going on this metalwork, shaping the final structure. So I got a line of rebar from that corner all the way up to here. That all ties together, and that's going to be the line where vertical meets dome of the roof. And then got this piece of rebar in here, which like ties down there into this vertical and will help me to kind of make the shape. I've got a bit to do to kind of get the shape just right, because you can see it's all kind of messed up right there. But I cut in this window, which is going to be the one window on this side, and it's a little bit wider on the left side. It's like a double opening window that a previous tenant found, which was a great find. So just giving you an interim update, taking a break. I don't know if you can hear, but there's been an eagle flying around for 2 days and yelling, shrieking. I don't know exactly the right word for it, but making a lot of noise repeatedly. If it comes back, I'll get it back on camera again. I think it's looking for its mate. I don't know why else it would make so much noise. So I woke up thinking that I was going to be working on the arch and reinforcing the arch, and just because of this weather and it being all overcast, I decided, I guess it just felt more like a metal day than a rock day. So I'm still working on getting this shape going. Now I'm working on a piece of rebar up on the top to try to adjust the arch of the remesh to be consistent along with that piece of rebar. And yeah, just working it out. So the beautiful apple tree died. The boys are eating on it. There's a slight chance it could send out a new shoot. I think it's called coppicing. This chicken's being loud because the boys who just ran over here, they like trampled one of the roosters and she got all traumatized by the 2 goat stampede. So the boys are being naughty, and I'm just gonna put them into their pen, get them some more branches so I can keep doing metal work. So here's what I ended up with after all of that prep work. Got a number of pieces of remesh on to see how the shapes will connect, and tie that piece of rebar in, and then got a bit of lath on with some forms through here. And I've mixed a batch of mortar. I'm gonna get some coverage, probably about half the batch on this new stuff. Cut that window out. And then probably the second half of the batch on reinforcing that arch and stuff like that. So I got some good coverage in this corner here about everything I could do with the metal prep I did. And then got a bucket on basically there, and the supports for the arch, and then a bucket on it as well. It was strong enough to support my bucket as I was standing on the ladder, so the bucket was up there as I was then building up the next layer. So after a couple more successive rounds of that, maybe reinforcing that junction and more over there, then it should be able to take my weight. But not quite after this one, but close. It probably could actually, but I wouldn't risk it. But that's all for the mortar for today. Wednesday morning, doing a little bit more metal work. You can see this arch here is going to be, it might change a little bit, but roughly that'll be kind of like an opening for 3 windows in a row. And there'll be one window in that, one window in that, a little window in what you can't really see there, but there's 3 squares in a row that are missing there. There'll be a window in that. I added a piece of rebar on this side because that was kind of like where those, if you can actually see there, where the boxes are missing and then the remesh were coming out, that was like jutting out in that corner, so I had to add the rebar to fix the shape. And now it's a loose end of a rebar up there, which is probably going to end up connecting to the top of that arch right there, where there's like a rebar piece ended. And that will most likely be probably 2 pieces of rebar to connect those. And the open space continues to get kind of closed as I project remesh and rebar out into the space and figure out how to shape this object. The eagle's back. Hard to get it in focus. It's pretty far away right now, but it was just calling out. What does that look like to you? Does it look anything like a dragon? The nose here. Gonna put a nostril right there. Then it's got an eye with like an eyelid right there. And then it'll have like horny crown over there. And like a window over here for like another eye. And it'll be a little lopsided, goofy looking dragon. Look at this nostril. See, it's like a little kind of like a step. It's a step to get on the roof. So to get onto the roof of the Molly Stark Tower, you're gonna have to climb up the nose of the dragon. So it's gonna be a secret nostril and foothold here. So that's gonna be where you step up, and I'm gonna have to raise this thing over here to be like a crenellation size. So like 2 foot tall. So you'll step on the crenellation, which is reinforced there. Then you'll step onto the nostril. Then you straddle the dragon, and then make your way up the dragon. Wednesday afternoon, and the prep for this morning was getting some lath on there, both on the wall behind where the ladder is, and that whole transition from the wall up to the dome here. So got ready for mortar, and see how it goes. So after one batch on Wednesday, I got all that double coated on kind of the jowls of the dragon, so that those forms can be removed tomorrow, which are on the outside. And then got some good coverage over here and second coverage over there, and got that wall all the way up with a fresh batch on the right and a second batch on the left, and getting it better and better tied into the structural arch. I should have got some more on that side, but I didn't get over to that side. And then starting to get that vertical piece of rebar there mortared in as well. So just one, and I think there's a little bit on the top of the snout too. So just one batch today, and some more metal work to do. I also put one more ring up there. So I'm trying to use that visor there as a line to put remesh off of, with the remesh being like a visor off the front. So I kind of worked on that side for the first horizontal one. But then there's this like half semicircle up top that has the lath on it. And then this piece. So I was just like throwing this piece of remesh at it and hoping that the geometry resolves itself. Still only one wire tie in. We'll see if I tie it more if the geometry resolves. So with enough wire ties, the geometry resolves, and that piece of remesh goes from sort of concave to convex somewhere in the middle of it, it seems. And I'm closing in on the last of the open ceiling space. I'll give you a look down the dragon's head to see what it's looking like. There. So maybe that'll be like an ear or something, or a horn. I don't know, but it's looking like a pretty fearsome dragon to me. Thursday morning, and here's the dragon from below before I pull the forms. So I put the forms on that side as well as the one that was on that side. And so now I'm going to try to rush and make a batch of mortar. Rush just because there's rain coming, but I want to get an outside coat on that, and there's plenty of other stuff on the other walls, like the wall behind it that you can kind of see that needs coverage. And yeah, just try to get one batch done early today. So I was able to get one mortar batch done Thursday morning. I think that's all today because of forecasted rain. But I got a covering on the areas where I removed the forms, except for right in the middle on the right side, which I couldn't reach from either the window or around the corner. I'll need a ladder on the outside to set that up. And then up there on the inside, and then coverage on the inside, some more coverage over here, and a second coat up there, a little more on the arch, and a little more reinforcing around there. So that's it for the project stuff for this week, and we'll check in with the aminals. Wasabi is doing good. Hey boys, how's it going? Doing good, eating some tree branches. Maple and boxwood elder. Boys want to go for a walk. Staying cool out here. Alright, I'll give you a shot of Grizzly and the chickies. Grizzly and the chickies are over there in the bush. Can you see them? Where are those chickies? Grizzly? Oh, there's the blonde one. And there's the brown one. You're doing a great job, Grizzly. Those two chickies don't have names yet. Is it time to name them? No, not yet. Hi there, horsies. How y'all doing? Stridon, you gonna come say hi? Starbuck, good girl. Child's Place coming and Independent. Hey boys. That's the interaction they had with the horses. The horses ran them over. Chased them. What do you think now, boys? They're not gonna come get you. How y'all doing, horsies? I got lots of flies. Lots of fliesies. Look at all these flies. Getting them good, these flies. Oh, Zeus, you're such a bully. Hey, Odin. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. And his brother, Stardust. So that's all for this week. We're down here at the lower gate doing a little landscaping with the boys. So a dragon was born this week, and next week I'll see about mounting the dragon and sliding up its nose. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Bye from the eagle.